Hi, I'm Jules from the beauty school. I'm a makeup artist and I've been in the beauty industry for 8 years now. I specialise in bridal makeup and my style is typically a mix of K-beauty and Western style. As well as bridal makeup, I've also worked in photo shoots and event makeup, and I also offer one-on-one personal lessons. Today, I'm going to show you how to achieve photo-ready bridal makeup as well as making it look flawless in real life. Here's how. So let's start with what is bridal makeup. Bridal makeup is typically a soft glam look with emphasis on enhancing the bride's natural features while making them look like the best version of themselves. Bridal makeup needs to translate well in flash photography and needs to be long wearing through the day. I like to further educate my bride on my application process. So for example, I've had past brides who have requested for a super natural look. I would then go ahead and educate them that makeup tends to appear more subtle in flash photography and that I like to layer on coloured products so that it translates well in flash photos. It is important to find a happy medium between what the bride is comfortable with and my expert advice. I'm going to demonstrate my approach to a full bridal makeup application. This is my lovely model Jo. So I'm going to start with skin prep first. I'm going to make sure to keep her skin really hydrated with a little bit of moisturizer and also prep her under eyes before we apply any makeup as well, just to make sure her under eyes is also nice and hydrated. So I'm going to start with some eye cream first. This one is just a hydrating eye cream, so this will ensure that her under eyes are nice and prepped for the concealer. I'm just going to apply the eye cream under Jo's eyes. I'll just get you to look up for me. So this formula is actually an eye serum, which means it's a little bit thinner compared to an eye cream. This will also absorb a little bit quicker into her skin, giving her that nice boost of hydration. So now that we're done with the eye cream, I'm going to apply a little bit of moisturizer. So I'm going to go in with a water-based moisturizer. This formula tends to be a little bit thinner, but at the same time still giving her that nice boost of hydration. So with skincare, I tend to avoid anything with too much fragrance in it, just in case my client has sensitive skin, because people tend to react to fragrance. So now that we've applied the eye cream and moisturizer, sunscreen would be optional, so I would only apply that if my client requests for it. SPF does tend to cause a little bit of flashback in professional flash photography, so I tend to avoid anything with SPF ingredients, including titanium oxide and zinc oxide. I also tend to avoid any stark white powders or anything that has too much of a light reflex in it that will cause a bit of a white cast in photos. With skin tone and colour matching as well, I'd like to match closest to her skin tone and avoid going too light from her skin tone, just because that may cause the white cast also. So now that we've done the skincare, I'm going to jump into the makeup application. I'm going to apply 2 different primers to Jo's skin before we apply the foundation. So I'm going to apply a more mattifying primer down her T-zone just to control the shine throughout the day, and also a more hydrating primer mainly on the cheeks to keep her skin nice and hydrated. By applying these 2 primers under your foundation, it's going to help with the longevity of the makeup. So I'm going to be applying the hydrating primer first, and we're going to focus this mainly in on Jo's cheeks. So I've just applied the hydrating primer. I'm going to take a little bit of that mattifying primer down the T-zone. So I like to use 2 different brushes to apply the foundation. I first go in with the flat foundation brush, and then I like to buff in the foundation with a flat top fluffy brush. So I'm first going to apply the foundation onto the skin with the flat foundation brush. I like to apply the foundation onto the skin first to ensure an even application, and then buffing it in with the dense top foundation brush. So this will also ensure that your foundation isn't getting absorbed into the bristles of this brush. So with this second brush here, I'm basically just bouncing the foundation into Jo's skin. I don't like to swipe, because when you do that, you're moving the foundation and it could leave streaky marks on the skin. And when you're applying your foundation, make sure to blend it down to the neck and also into the hairline. So the key to achieving photo-ready bridal makeup while still looking flawless in real life is to use light to medium coverage foundation, then going into spot conceal with a higher coverage concealer. So now that we've applied the foundation, we're going to move on to contouring and concealing. With concealer, I typically like to use a shade 1 to 2 shades lighter than the foundation, just to bring the features forward and give a bit of contrast to the contouring. So I'm first going to go in with some cream contour products. So I've taken the cream contour product on a flat sculpting brush. As you can see the shape of this brush, it just hugs the cheekbones really nicely. So I'm just going to apply that cream contour right underneath the cheekbone. So everyone naturally has a little bit of shadow under the cheeks, so that can act as your guide to where to place the product. Another little tip is I like to start off at the top of the ear. So just starting at the back here and just pressing the product into the skin. And while you're applying this, you want to follow that shadow and aiming it towards the edge of the lips. But just stopping the product around the outer corner of the eye, so focusing the product around this area here. And I just like to very slowly build up that intensity, and also making sure to blend that into the hairline as well, as this will make the shadows look a bit more natural. When you're applying the cream contour, you want to make sure you're keeping the product quite high up, as when we're blending it, the product tends to blend downwards anyway. And this will also give an appearance of a lifted cheek. And then whatever's left on the brush, you can blend it a little bit further forward onto the cheeks. I also like to take the cream contour a little bit along the jawline as well, just to enhance the definition. And making sure to blend that a little bit down the neck also. So now that we've applied the contour, I'm going to go in with some concealer underneath the eyes. So I've chosen a shade 1 to 2 shades lighter than the foundation, and I like to place the concealer mainly where the darkness is, so around the inner corner just here, and a little bit under that winged liner. So with this product placement, it will give an illusion of a more lifted eye look. And it's also a really nice way to clean up that eyeshadow and make it look more polished. I also like to take just a tiny bit under the cheeks here and on this side as well. So this will also help polish up the contour. And just taking a damp sponge, I'm going to blend that concealer. So I'm using the sponge to push that concealer into the skin and making sure I blend it onto the side of the nose, down the cheeks a little bit, just so it blends really well with the foundation. And now once we get to that outer corner part, I'm using the edge of the sponge to clean up that winged liner and just stamping it right under the winged liner and then blending out the concealer. So now that we've applied the concealer, I'm going to finish off with the rest of the cream products, such as cream blush. So I'm going to take the cream blush on this dome brush. I like to warm it up on the back of my hand a little bit too. And then I'm going to apply this blush right on top of the contour. And same technique, so I like to start off at the back here, towards the top of the ear, and just using some pressing motions to press the product into the skin. I also like to blend the cream blush a little bit into the under eyes, as I find this a little bit more flattering. So by using this technique, you won't be able to tell where the blush starts and stops. And as I'm blending the cream blush, I like to go back in with my sponge and blend it with the concealer. And now I'm just building up that intensity. I like to focus the placement more along here, same as the contour, rather than the apples of the cheeks, because when you place the cream blush in the apples here, it tends to make the face appear rounder. So now that we're finished up with the cream products, I'm going to go in with a setting powder to set the liquid products. By setting down the makeup, I'll be able to mattify the skin, which is really flattering for professional photos, but also controlling the shine throughout the day. So I'm going to start off by setting down the concealer under the eyes, just to make sure it's not creasing. So before going in with the translucent powder, you want to make sure you're blending out all the creasing first, just like the eye base. And I'm just pressing down any creasing under the eyes, and then taking the translucent powder on a fluffy dome brush, I'm just pressing the powder right on top of that concealer. Again, you don't want to swipe because when you swipe, you will move the product underneath. So I like to take this along the side of the nose, down the cheeks a little bit, and then up towards the temples. While I'm setting the under eyes, I also like to set around the smile lines too, to manage any creasing. So after the translucent powder, I like to go in with a pressed coloured powder for the rest of the face. So this will add a little bit of extra coverage to the skin while also setting down the liquid foundation. So I'm going to take the powder on a big fluffy powder brush and also stamping it into the skin. So I like to pair the cream blush and bronzer with powdered blush and bronzer. By doing this, we're building the intensity so that the makeup translates well in photos, but also for longevity, as cheek color tends to fade the quickest. So with your powdered blush, I'm just going to go over the placement of the cream blush. So I'll just get you to look up for me. And again, starting at the back of the ear here, and then stamping this on top of the cream blush. I'm going to blend it a little bit into the under eyes again. So next I'm going to go in with a powdered bronzer just over the cream contour. So I'm just going over that cream contour that we applied before, and again starting at the top of the ear and blending it into the blush. By doing this, by building the intensity of the contour and bronzer, we're just adding a little bit more definition around the cheeks. And also just going over the cream contour along the jawline and making sure to blend that down the neck and also around the perimeters of the forehead. Now that we've applied the powder bronzer, we're going to move on to highlighting. Before I apply the cheek highlighter, I actually like to use another blush topper, which does have a little bit of highlight in it, just to give the skin a little bit of a glowy finish. So I'm just going to apply this on top of what we did for the blush shade before. And I also like to take a little bit of this across the nose for a more sun-kissed finish. And finally, we're going to go in with the cheek highlight. So I will just apply this one on the very top of the cheekbones to reflect light. So I'm just very lightly applying this on the very top of the cheeks. And I like to add a little bit down the bridge of the nose just to bring that forward. And this also gives a really nice dewy effect. And now to finish off the look, we're going to do Jo's lips. So I'm going to go in with a lip liner and also lipstick and a gloss. And just as a finishing touch, I'm going to add a little bit of highlight just in the inner corners of the eyes. And now that the look is finished, we're going to set it with a little bit of setting spray. I often get asked if setting spray or powder is more important, and my answer is both. By using setting spray and setting powder, this will ensure that the bride's makeup will last all day. So this is my approach to achieving photo-ready bridal makeup. I hope you learned something new today and can incorporate some of these tips into your bridal makeup artistry. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments below what tip you found most helpful.